Hey, what's going on, guys? It's me, Eden, from Cartoon Apocalypse, and welcome back to another video. Now, this video is one that I've been talking about doing for quite some time now, but I'm just now getting around to making it because now, since the hiatus has started, now we're all just kind of slowing down. So all these videos that I've had planned and in the works for a while now will start to roll out slowly because I don't want to rush and get them all out now, because then you'll be content dry for quite some time. Now, it's pretty clear where I stand in this argument, or not necessarily an argument, but my stance on this whole finale thing, because typically you're on one of two sides. Either you thought that the finale was pretty good, or you thought that the finale was pretty bad. And I'm here to talk about why the people who thought it was bad, such as myself, believe that it was bad. Now, me saying this makes it a very common misconception, but I think I stand for a lot of people when saying that this episode wasn't inherently bad. It wasn't a bad episode, it was just bad for a finale, and that's why we call it bad, because we were expecting a finale and we got an irregular episode in return. Now, the episode was good, and it introduced a lot of interesting plot ideas and stuff pushing the plot forward for Season 4, which makes it stand out as more of a finale than just a regular old episode. And that's simply because most episodes don't follow any continuity base, but as far as Season 3 has been going, we have seen more continuity, and that's always a good thing. So hopefully Season 4 will focus on more of continuity, where it's not just like any episode just throws away itself, it stays in line. So I don't know, we'll just have to see how Season 4 goes. So I've been spending the past couple weeks thinking about this episode and really figuring out why I personally didn't think that it was a good finale. And if I don't mention something that you thought was a clear indicator as to why this wasn't such a great finale, please let me know down in the comments, because I love to hear your feedback. Now, the first reason is the Ukrainian dub wasn't very good. We originally got this episode in the Ukrainian dub, and here's the thing. We got the first part of the finale a couple days before this finale, and it somehow came out in English. Some people were saying it was a leak. I don't exactly know what was going on. Same channel, so my guess is something kind of went weird there. I don't exactly know what all happened. What I do know is that we got the first part of the finale in English, and originally we weren't expecting it in English. I wasn't expecting it in English. I was expecting to see it in Ukrainian, and that was it. But surprise, surprise, we ended up getting it in English, and that was a big surprise that made us enjoy the episode more for sure. And that made me think, okay, well, we'll probably see the second part in English, because I didn't know that there was some weird stuff going on behind the scenes. I just thought that this channel was airing English because that's what it did. So then Miracle Queen comes out, and then it's not in English, so we're off to kind of a rocky start there from the very beginning, because it wasn't exactly what we were expecting. Not to mention that the dub itself wasn't very good. Like, if it was French, the French dub's pretty good, but the Ukrainian dub, just to be frank, isn't very good. Now, the episode itself overall started out pretty good. It was up until the battle part where it started going downhill a little bit. Now, like most of the episodes in this season, this episode was really rushed. This whole finale was rushed. A lot of the good episodes this season have been rushed, which is why I honestly really hope that they develop a more continuity-based show system versus just airing one episode and that's its own story. If they can extend the single story to multiple different episodes, then that really gives us a unique story, and first of all, it makes them not have to develop as much, so they can put more effort into the stories that they are developing, making them more enjoyable to watch. And two, they don't run out of ideas. We wouldn't get as many Chloe things, because we've seen a whole lot of Chloe, and I'll talk about that more later. And overall, our enjoyment would just go up as long as the channels actually air them in order, and I will make a video on that separately, talking about that later. Now, I remember when I was watching this episode, I wasn't feeling very engaged with the episode for some reason. It's not something that I can explain, and it's something that I've been trying to think of, like, why am I feeling unengaged? And I've been trying to figure out why, but I haven't exactly put my finger on it. But one of the things that I think contributed to that was the whole Snake Miraculous. Now, in my opinion, the Snake Miraculous itself isn't a very good idea. I think that it kind of ruins any suspense that you could possibly have. Now, this is also on my list of videos to make, and that's why the Snake Miraculous is a bad idea, or something along those lines. But basically, when you have the Snake Miraculous, you never fail. Unless if you're Adrian and spend 42,000 different tries just because you're focused on one thing, odds are you're going to eventually win, because you can just keep redoing it as many times as you want. Now, obviously, if you take out that Snake Miraculous, then you'll be fine, but really the Snake Miraculous should be in the hands of someone who knows when to use it. And in this case, Luca, when he was, I don't know, turned into a bee person, I don't know. Cat Noir took him out pretty easily, which honestly isn't something that we should get, because the Snake Miraculous has ultimate power and can trump anything that anyone else can do, because he can just go back to when he's in the lead. Now let's just say, for the benefit of the doubt, that they actually went through this a couple hundred times and they didn't even realize, and they didn't show it to us, because if they did, that would just be boring for us. But let's just say that, yeah, they did redo it, and eventually they found a timeline that they actually succeeded in. So when Cat Noir activates the Snake Miraculous, we kind of know that they're gonna win. And I mean, it's kind of obvious that they are going to win at the end of the day, because that's just how these shows are, but we like to feel some suspense. And when we know for a fact that Cat Noir can just go back whenever, then there's not really any suspense. And that was my biggest problem with this whole fight scene, aside from it being rushed, is that it wasn't very engaging, because the Snake Miraculous is in existence, because there's no suspense, there's no going back, there's no do-overs. That's just how it is. If you're stuck in a situation, you're stuck there for good. But with the Snake Miraculous, you can just go back to when you are in the lead. And then they succeeded. So all the heroes are free, and then it's Ladybug and Cat Noir, and then Hawkmoth and Myura. Now there was this whole thing with Chloe putting on all the Miraculous, and that was actually something that got me pretty interested, but that was just a whole hype thing that didn't actually mean anything, and that's sort of part of where the anticlimactic stuff starts to come in, because like, oh, we're expecting Chloe to actually become this super being, but we never actually did. And that was kind of disappointing, because when they introduced this idea like, hey, Ladybug might actually have to go up against something like that, then it's like, oh wow, that's kind of scary. But she ended up being rejected, which kind of just made it feel really anticlimactic. Now after Chloe has her whole ordeal, then Ladybug uses her lucky charm and she gets a keychain, and then she's like, oh no, I can't do anything, I'm stuck, I'm a failure. But they neglected the obvious option to go and physically fight Hawkmoth. He wasn't that far away. In the Season 2 finale, she was physically fighting with Hawkmoth, and here's the thing. She had all the other heroes with her. They were all unbead, or whatever you want to call it. We never saw the heroes after they become unbead, which, in my opinion, is just a big fatal mistake. They've been spending the past 2 seasons bringing these heroes up, and they just kind of neglected them. Now, when I first heard the Battle of the Miraculous, I thought that it was going to be a battle between big Miraculous armies. That's honestly what I was expecting. I was expecting to see Ladybug and her team go up against Hawkmoth and his team of maybe Chloe with a Miraculous, and then maybe Lila with a Miraculous, which I'll get to here in a second. Now, the fact that we didn't see any other heroes wasn't necessarily a bad thing. It was just kind of what I was expecting. But the fact that Ladybug didn't go fight Hawkmoth was really kind of surprising to me, because that's such an obvious thing that you would think about, because you could slow down Hawkmoth getting to Master Fu. You could go distract the Seni monster, you could go do something with it, capture the Seni monster, whatever you want to do to at least slow down Master Fu's capturement and even possibly save him, because if you go distract Hawkmoth and there's nothing that Hawkmoth can do to stop Master Fu from leaving, he could easily get away as long as he just took down his shield and ran off at a good point. Now, that wouldn't have given for as good of an ending for Master Fu or whatever, but that's just another route that I feel was kind of obvious, and I'm just kind of surprised that Marinette didn't think about. So I don't know, maybe that's just my own opinion. You can tell me what you think. Now, going back to Lila, I was really expecting to see Lila in this episode. When they started off the very first episode introducing Lila, that was a real point for me, because I was like, okay, so they're going to start developing Lila in this season. They're starting off strong with her, and that's kind of where they're going to start heading. And sure enough, we saw more of Lila. We saw her in Oni-chan, Ladybug, and probably some others that I'm not remembering at this point. And that's the thing, Ladybug was such a good episode in my opinion, because it surprised me so much. In The Miracle Queen, it didn't really surprise me. There were some things like, ooh, whoa, that's pretty cool, but then it was just so anticlimactic that it didn't do anything with that. Whereas Ladybug, it had Ladybug and Cat Noir going face to face with Hawkmoth and Myura, which was something that I was definitely not expecting. Not to mention that Marinette almost got akumatized, which definitely would have meant the end of everything. And that's really what got me hyped for Ladybug when I first saw it. Like, oh wow, that's pretty good. And not to mention, Lila is the perfect antagonist. She and Gabriel, and she and Hawkmoth, I guess, since they're not really the same person, you can't classify them as the same person, but basically, she has a good connection with both of those characters to her, and she understands the motives of Hawkmoth. Not necessarily that it's for Emily, but the fact that Lila is inherently evil, and she's going along with Hawkmoth in all of his plans, it really is good. So this whole thing with Chloe, it makes sense, and it makes sense that she ended up just betraying Ladybug, because really, in order to save Chloe, you have to help save Chloe, and Ladybug wasn't doing that. But if Hawkmoth really did believe that he was going to succeed, he should have realized that, hey, I should really recruit more people, because even if I get most of the Miraculous holders now, they're still going to be under command of Chloe. And Chloe isn't necessarily the most reliable character, and Hawkmoth should know this. He's been looking at Chloe and developing this plan for quite some time, and he should have realized that, hey, things with Chloe might not go as planned. So what he should do is develop someone who's actually reliable, such as Lila, and he should have given her a Miraculous. Now that, I think, is Hawkmoth's biggest fatal thing, is he didn't have a backup plan. And the fact that we didn't see Lila at all in this episode really makes me wonder, like, what are they doing? Like, they keep bouncing between two different things. They keep bouncing between new Miraculous holders and new powers, and they keep bouncing between Lila and Chloe, and they just don't know what they're doing yet, and that's something that I hope that they figure out in Season 4. Overall, the reason why people didn't necessarily like this as a finale is because we were expecting more. You have to remember that the ending of Season 3 was phenomenal for us. Not necessarily the finale, but the episodes leading up to the finale. All the episodes that we got at the end of Season 3 were basically plot-filled episodes, and all the beginning episodes were basically filler episodes, you could say. Now, it wasn't necessarily supposed to be like this, it was supposed to be spread out more, but the way that the cookie crumbled in this situation was that the first half of the season was basically filler, and the second half was plot, and that means that we were filled with a bunch of episodes that had a bunch of interesting plot. Especially Feast, Kwame Buster, and Ladybug. Now, I already explained Ladybug and why I thought that it was so great. I even said in my analysis video talking about Ladybug that it was fit for a finale, and that the finale really better top Ladybug because Ladybug is the best episode of all time. In my opinion, of course. And then we got Star Train next after Ladybug, and Star Train overall was a pretty good episode. Not necessarily anything that I would like say, oh my gosh, this is finale level, but it was interesting. Feast was good because it had a lot of lore about the past, and it introduced a lot of things at the end as far as bringing back the temple and introducing this idea of a bunch more Miraculouses. And then Kwame Buster was cool because we really got to see the power of all these different Miraculouses, and we really learned that Marinette was the chosen one to be the savior of all the Miraculouses or something. Now, after Kwame Buster, we got Heart Hunter, or the first part of the finale, and that was a pretty good setup episode, nothing really too bad there. And then we got the second part. We had a streak of 5 or 6 episodes, really all the episodes at the end of Season 3 I really enjoyed, but specifically the ones right building up right before the finale really hyped us up for the finale because they were all really, really good episodes. And when you get the finale part 2 that matches Star Train, Feast, and Kwame Buster, not Ladybug, because Ladybug's just on a whole nother league of its own for me, but Miracle Queen, I would say matched Star Train, Feast, and Kwame Buster for me. And you might think at first, hey, that's a pretty good thing, isn't it? Well, actually no, because it was a finale. It should have blown us away. And in my opinion, I just wasn't blown away from the episode because of all the reasons I stated before. Now, the fact that Cat Blanc and Felix came after the finale really saved Season 3, because if we ended on this finale, especially if we went in order as far as Cat Blanc airing and then Felix and then the finale, we would have been a lot more disappointed with this finale because Camp Blanc, such a great episode. The visuals in that episode were so good. They didn't match those visuals in the finale. Like, I almost believe that the finale's production money went into Camp Blanc as far as making it look nice. And then Felix was also just an interesting episode. So if we got the finale after those two, we just would have been in this eternal state of just kind of feeling disappointed with the show. But luckily, since we got Camp Blanc and Felix after it, we got some good episodes in comparison to what we were expecting for the finale to cover up and distract us from how disappointing the finale actually was. So it was really just a combination of all these things that really put in this bad reputation that Miracle Queen now has. Now again, I'm not saying that they didn't introduce anything new, that this episode was not good at all. I'm saying that it wasn't up to par with what a finale should be. It didn't feel like a finale to me. So yes, I do think that Master Fu losing his memories is a really big thing, and that it's going to be really detrimental to Season 4, and that all the superheroes lost their identity, and now Marinette's going to have to somehow come up with new placeholders for those heroes or something. I know that it's all super exciting, and that this episode did a good job of introducing new things, but the way that they introduced them was flawed, and that's what I'm talking about. But anyway guys, that's going to be it for this video. If you did enjoy, you can leave a like and subscribe for more content similar to this. I'm sorry that this video was so long. It's just that there was a lot to talk about and in detail for that, because this video is really for people who didn't understand why they either disliked the finale or why other people didn't necessarily like the finale. So that's kind of my thoughts on it. And again, if I missed something, if you had another reason, or if you want to counter any of my reasons, feel free to down in the comment section down below. Don't go hating on people because of their opinions though. That's not very nice. Just let people have their own opinions. Like if you were a diehard fan of Miracle Queen, just okay. That's okay. I'm not saying that your opinion's wrong. That's just not what my opinion is. So it's all good. But yeah, I'll talk to you in the next video whenever that may be. Goodbye.
But he gets his clothes from a dumpster.